Boom! We are live and direct on the TruMon show with the great Arthur Christian himself, live and direct. Boom! How are you, Arthur?
Good mate. Challenged,
Great.
always challenged, but there
It's good to
in the
see
house.
you vibrant and alive as always.
Yep. Thank you.
So tonight we're gonna go on with our topic of super consciousness. I think it's a topic that can hit everyone here on Earth. At least if you are a little bit aware and present on this plane, you will realize that there is some questions you may have to ask. I don't know what state of mind people are in. Me, I like to question things objectively and for what they are. And the three perpetual question that I have, that I think all humanity have, is who are we? Uh, where are we? And what are we doing here? Like, if you don't ask these three simple questions, I think there's nothing else you will probably ask in life. But at least if you start by those three, which now involves higher forces, like who are we? Probably there's some act of creation behind the whole earth, because there's an act of creation behind everything. So now we can also involve creational science. There's something called creational science. And I don't even think human, because, or man on the land, maybe the man on the land could have a sense of how a seed functions, but I don't think human can even pierce the creational science behind a seed, a tiny pepper seed, giving you a huge plant full of peppers or apples, or a tiny seed giving you a huge tree and stuff. I know humans go and genetically modified stuff, and they probably make something, but it's always from another fruit, another seed. Like, I don't think we have pierced the creational science technology. I think it's still something that is to be probably explored or not, but that tells me that there's something very divine on this realm, especially because of look everything that grows around and stuff. So now, exactly, if we are co-creators of this reality, as you say always, I would like to come one day to understand exactly where I am and what I'm doing here. Like, are we here to hold the nightmare or to hold the dream of life together? Like, it's so fucked up in people's heads sometimes. I don't know what's going on, but especially when you're deeply into the program and stuff, you like, they don't even see nothing else but the nightmare, but they don't even know that they're in the nightmare. Like, this is so profound how we've been lobotomized, and we're so robotic with everything, with our everyday life. Live our life like freaking robots, not questioning anything. So that's why I'm here with Arthur tonight, exactly, and days before, and we will be here again to question our existence. What's the point of, like, what? I'm supposed to sit in front of the TV and drink Pepsi and eat pizza and not question anything? That's what they want us to do. Hurt ourselves the maximum so we become really mummified and we don't move and we don't question. But I think together we have a potential. Exactly. None of us is as smart as all of us together. You can be very smart alone, but if we join forces together, it's a whole different story. And now we're joining forces together, yeah, but to inflate the nightmare of life that we have created ourselves from the dream of life that we've been given. We have turned this into a nightmare. How many people are suffering? Might not be your case. Listening to me, you might be very happy in your little existence and stuff. But if we look at the big picture, there's a lot of suffering on earth. People dying each and every day of
Yeah.
hunger and stuff. People, children with nothing to eat. Like, this is a reality. So this is a nightmare for me to see that. So can we, like, hold the big picture together at one point and have more awareness, Arthur, of this big picture? How do we come to grow in awareness collectively to be able to sustain that dream of life and not just feed the nightmare permanently. Like, to me, it's
Well,
crazy.
the whole Love for Life work since 2005 has been about this very subject, because when I had those epiphanies and those other experiences that sort of were contributing since 72 that made me to where I was, where I ended up, and pulling out of the system like I pulled out in 2005, and to have all those distractions removed, all those demands and pressures on my life, having to run business and having lots of staff, and staff levels have vacillated between 10 and 33. Had over 400 staff, running a service business, service and sales office automation business, photocopiers, laser printers and all that, and built it up from a garage and at my mother's place, and then it grew and grew and grew, and I was the main seller, mouth entrepreneur, and then employing people to look after the equipment and to follow through of the promises. So, I've had a lot of history, and that really burnt me out. It was, and I started all this to try and make money to fund the music dream that I always had. But in hindsight now, if I knew everything I wouldn't have done any of this. I wouldn't have gone down these roads at all. But anyway, a few things to point out. We are always creating. We are never not creating. Everybody, no matter where we're at, we are all co-creators. We're all creating. It's just that we're not conscious of what it is that we are creating. And that's where I come in with the work I've been doing to point, how does this work? How has it come about to this? Because what got me to change was the extreme harm of people who I have been in a world of, I grew up when Vietnam was going on, and I grew up with, I learned about the Korean War, and my father came out of that, and I learned about the Second World War, and I learned about the depressions and recessions and all these. I mean, it's just, media, TV was in my home, and so I'm always being stimulated by chaos. And I've always wondered why people want to do harm. How does it come about? Why are we doing this? How come we've ended up with such confusion that that we always seem to have situations where we've been raped, pillaged, and plundered, used and abused, and all that? And it really does go on. Everybody's going for that, and some people think you have to be a good citizen. You got to work for the system, and it's all part and parcel of it. Bite the bullet and just get on with it, and just live your life. But I started looking at it from a very different perspective, because I started seeing fiction for what it was. So the first thing I wanted to really get into is that everything that's happening has been created by us. Everything that's going on is all created by us. We are the only ones setting into motion the information, and what is behind the information, or what's in the foreground of the information, of all the physical material forms, all the constructs and concepts of whatever is being used to play out the creation side of things, whether it leads to harm or not. That's things we have to discern and work that one out. But I came to see that the only way we change is we got to change the tools we are working with that has us create whatever it is we're participating in and giving our energy, our life energy to. Now, this is a constant. It doesn't matter what we talk about, what subject, it doesn't matter how many themes we can point out that we say, oh, that's wrong, that's bad, why is it like this? It all comes back to each of us, that we are all responsible. We're giving our energy to the thoughts, to the information of those feelings, and in that we are creating what we are experiencing. We are all creating exactly what we're all experiencing. Sure, as children, we're not given full disclosure. Sure, we haven't been protected. These are things that need to be done, but that comes from changing the tools we're working with to change how we are living our everyday lives, and how we've stopped the harm, how we stop the using and abusing and the rape, pillaging and plundering and all the chaos and social events and international events and technological events and natural disasters, all these things. To me, it's all happening to our experience, because we are the the first party to it all. I always have been. The chaos of what you're describing, all these unpleasantries, these things that don't make us happy, are just feelings we carry that we work with, and they are the tools of what we work with. We have the free will and the choice to recognize tools that lead to destruction and harm and chaos and using and abusing and rape, pillage and plundering and victim mentalities and everything possibly can go wrong. We have the ability to not work with those tools, even though we feel them. If we're still too deep asleep and we're not conscious of all the outcomes of all these effects of what we're actually participating in, not seeing the bigger picture that leads to families ending up living on the streets, or poverty and just poor quality food, and just so many different things you'll see across social media where people are pointing out and complaining about just things that are going wrong. And all of it, the machine, like the conveyor belt going through the factory of chaos of life, it's a man working on the conveyor belt. It's a man who's putting the tools that to work with, that feeds what goes on the conveyor belt, and all of that. It's like if you look at our eyes, we've got like a film projector. It's like a film of the conveyor belt going across our eyes, going across our thinking and feeling, that we are focusing on those images and projecting them out there. And we're just mostly not conscious of what it is that we're projecting, because the power we're giving to what we're projecting is what's coming back at us in our image. We're creating it. So simplify it all. It's either life or fiction. It doesn't matter. The creation of what we're putting energy into is always there. So we can't change who we are when it comes to the fact that we are creators, giving our life energy to what we're thinking of, what we're feeling. So unless we confront that and start looking at what are the tools of our thinking, of our feelings, that are leading to the chaos, and how do we withdraw from feeding that, stop giving our energy to that, is what you're describing, to be able to return to paradise, to be able to work out what the hell's going on and why. So look, yesterday I got Fiona to help me. I wrote an article called Ulysses the Man, which I posted on the Facebook walls. You've read it.
Yeah, I read it.
And I want to just refer to this a little bit, because to me it says a lot. Now, when you look at Ulysses in the Odyssey and the sirens on the island, Ulysses had to be tied to the mast of the vessel. And all these men had put earwax in their ears so they didn't hear the songs of the sirens, but they could still see everything. Everyone could see everything. And there's this vessel crossing the island. And there's the sirens coming from the island, these, well, you can call them demonic entities, whatever, beings from this island, trying to seduce the men to come towards these naked women of these sirens. And if you look at all the imagery in the story, you can see all around the sirens are dead men, dead skeletons and bones. There's been a lot of history of people being drawn to the island. So the analogy of Ulysses in the Odyssey, in crossing that, is also shows us the remedy and the world and the situation of what we're in today. So unless we can face the sirens on the island, which are all the voices in our head, all the voices in our head, all that chit chat is the sirens on the island. And the island is the system. And everything that's going wrong, everything from chaos, harm, and destruction, is what's on offer through the sirens. For those who are caught into the temptation and are seduced and end up wrecking and ruin on the island of the system, are going to be caught up with everything that people are caught up with today, complaining and moaning and groaning and everything else going wrong and everything that's happening. It doesn't matter what it is that's fiction or harm doing, whatever, it's happening on the island of the sirens. Now, we each have to be Ulysses tied to the mast, which is the discipline, the focus, the commitment to be able to face the devil, to be able to face the sirens of all the voices in our head, all that stuff that we're feeling, which is coming from that island, which we were dragged into when we appeared in the womb, because those attacks were already happening to us on the vessel. Ulysses is on the vessel. The vessel is life. It's his life. And he had his own men working in that life too. So there's his community. So he's got his whole community protected. So they can cross past this island, all its effects, and move on without carrying all that effects with them. So that discipline, that focus, that concentration is very important, because unless we conquer our to stop, to be able to stop becoming enchanted and caught up with the feelings coming from the rack and ruin of the system, nothing will ever change, because those feelings we're thinking is what we're giving our energy to, and we're participating. So any one of those feelings that belongs on that island with the sirens will bring your whole life into it, no matter what it is going on. You've got to sever you from all of it, because that's why Ulysses was tied to the mast, so nothing could go to the island, as he saw everything before his own eyes of the chaos. So that's what I've done. I'm a Ulysses. There'll be many Ulysses out there. And if we get enough Ulysses together, we can actually create a real community together, because nobody wants to give their energy to the sirens. No one wants to be caught up in all the distorted feelings of all the voices, all the chit-chats going on in our head. Because everything that Ulysses and all the men of that community that was sailing on that vessel, of vessels, made sure that they did not get stuck, get drawn in and crash onto the rocks and be smashed and turned into, dead people, dead persons, which everybody in the system is, because you don't know who you are anymore. You don't have your real feelings in your vessel that you are listening to, the senses, and responding to that and giving energy to that. You're listening to all the chit-chat of all the fiction, all the things I've talked about intensely, even in this series of videos up to this point. Going back to all the old videos that I've done with you, and videos I've done with others, and videos we've posted up ourselves, articles. It goes into, no joking, hundreds of articles. It's been a chronic thing that I have focused on since 2005. It's not like as if I haven't been making an effort to explain. And I've used many analogies as they've come along, different ways of trying to explain this. So we are each Ulysses. However, most of us are not on the mast and are not tied on it. That we don't have the focus, that discipline to refuse to be entertained and support or acquiesce to all those destructive feelings, emotions, and all that stuff. Now, we are all Ulysses on the island. We've already shipwrecked. There are billions of us on this island amongst the sirens. And we're being picked up bit by bit. We've been eaten off, killed off. Now, all the vaccinations, all the 101,000 poisons and chemicals circulating in the air and the water and in the soil and getting through the food, all the artificial intelligence, all the chemical trails and harp frequencies and mobile phones and 5G and all these things, all the artificial things from concrete, plastic, steel, technology, all the things that we're all complicit in supporting that does harm to life, causes harm to other living things, is all happening on this island. All the divorces, all the arguments, all the emotional breakups, all the court cases, everything that's going on. There's nothing that's not happening that is not happening on this island. And there are millions of Ulysses who are not on the mast of their vessel. They've actually gave up. They have been sucked into, have sold out, and now they're on the island. And somewhere in this island, we think we're going to find a remedy that's going to change it. You'll never find a remedy that'll change anything there, because whatever you find will still be part of it, and will still feed it and continue it. So everything we're thinking that comes from alphabets belongs on that island. All the fiction that we're caught up in belongs on that island with the sirens. That's all dead, amongst the dead. They don't live. There's no life there. So if these chats we give through this series of videos, the superintelligence connection, it might inspire someone to question deeper and realize that the only way that they can get out of there is to get themselves tied up on the mast of their vessel where their eyes are open. Everything is happening on that island, and they can see it all for what it really is and be able to look at it, and without reacting, without getting emotionally caught up, which feeds this as well. It'll feed this darkness. Be able to rebuild a new vessel while the sirens are singing in your head and everything's going on. They're trying to draw you to stay. No, we want to eat you. We want to kill you. We want to use and abuse you. We want to make you our slaves and robots and drones and cyborgs. You know, we want you to be our slaves, you know, to be all the dead bodies left, rack and ruin all over the rocks of the islands that the sirens are singing their songs to those who come past, which is everybody, mate. Everyone in the system born into it is being shipwrecked. Their vessels are shipwrecked. Someone, as we talked about in the other video, you know, the pirates have boarded the vessel, taken control of the helm, put an imposter on the helm, whether it's we acting as the imposter or someone else is in our head completely controlling the vessel. But the helm of the vessel is controlled by them, and the direction of that vessel is always controlled by them. And all the actions and motions of the whole life of that vessel is controlled by them. It's all predetermined, self-fulfilling prophecies, because that's what business plans are. That's what all the planks are, all their agendas, all the everything they do. There's always an outcome plan for that they want to be a certain way, and then from that comes other intentions to lead to more outcomes that they want to plan. So everything is predetermined. There's nothing that isn't, and we're all participating in the creation. So if you want to undo ourselves from being part of the co-creation of life on the island of the sirens and all the destruction, we have to build a new vessel on that island. We've got to put the mast on with the sails on it. We've got to get ourselves on it, get some other people in the boat so we create a community so we can all work together and get out of there. Hop out and sail away and never look back. Now, how do you do that? You got to stop listening to the seduction of every feeling that comes, every thought that comes that belongs on that island of the sirens, of destruction, chaos. And the beauty of this, you do that because you know the good heart and its virtues, because that is the real feelings of life itself. I mean, the island of the sirens is obliterated at all. There is no remains of life there except whatever bird that may come along, or whatever stars you might see, or some fish that swim by. But basically, the island is barren. It's like a city of skyscrapers. You know, it's just a dead world of dead things, full of just dead people living the programs of those sirens as they get up and go to bed, performing everything. You got to break the pattern. So you got to break the pattern of debt. You got to break the pattern of tax. You got to break the pattern of survival. You got to break the pattern of all these things and get back to the heart space, the real heart space, where life's already providing everything to us. And if we can look after life, as in nature and, you know, forests and gardens and food, it's giving us food. So those of us who want to depart that Sign Island, we need to have the food. We need to have water to drink. We need to have shelter. We need to have all the basics of the infrastructure of the system. Excuse me. So thank you, Sam. Don't know what she heard, whether she heard it from my headphones or something else.
She heard something.
She's a phenomenal guard dog, this one. Or I should say, yeah, she does. She warns us about many things.
Yeah,
So she's great. So anyway, the analogy is that unless we change the tools of what we're feeling and stop responding to them, we will never be able to leave the island. And all the while we remain confused. No matter how bright we want to act, no matter how smart we think we are, we will still be dumb and stupid. We're still going to be responsible for everything that still goes on that island, because all our energy all our life is going to the life on that island, what remains of it, until everything is wiped out, until there's no life there anymore, which we would have done as well. So you got to know the good heart and all its virtues, and you've got to be able to have the discipline to want to be tied to the mast of your discipline, of your focus, of your commitment, to want to steer your life, the vessel of your life, away from that island. And you want to find others who also have the same commitment, who refuse to play out the emotions of all the destructive, distorted feelings that come from the island. You know, because the island is where the education is, where all the bookshops are, where all the movies and Hollywoods are, where all the social media is, where everything of Western world civilization is. It all belongs on that island. It doesn't belong in real life. Everything. The alphabets, the numbers, the mathematics, the geometry, the definitions, the constructs, the concepts, all of it belongs on that island. They are not our dreams. They're not your dreams. They're not real. We
And
didn't create them.
And the island is the place where you can't get enough of what you don't want. So it's a sure state of depression.
Exactly, because it's insatiable. You can't satiate what's insatiable. You can't. If you're on the journey to freedom, that will never ever end. If you're on the journey to unravel the mysteries, that'll never end. You'll be stuck in the cycle of that lie. If you're on the journey of happiness and freedom and all that, you'll still be stuck. Even if you think you've achieved a mild version of what is happiness and joy or freedom, you'll notice, if you're smart enough, that you're still in the island. You're still, your life, the roads, the homes, the vehicles, everything, the institutions, the corporations, and what, because you need all of that to live on this island. So there is no real freedom there. There is no true joy or happiness. There's no real being responsible for our lives, because even the addictions to the self of, I want more time for me, I want to control what I do that way, it's all measured. The good heart and its virtues don't do any of this. Don't do it. This just doesn't do any of that in that way. There's no predetermination to control and manipulate a situation to suit an aspiration that actually requires harming other things, other people. If you provided full disclosure all the time of your intentions, and those who received that full disclosure completely comprehended, because it was idiot friendly, as kids would comprehend it, we wouldn't want to go down those roads, because we would sense the outcomes and how horrible they will be. We would know not to do it. So all that's kept secret. So much of those things are kept secret. So unless you have the ability to peel back an onion ring to get back to the core, to be able to see the ugliness of the island, and that Judaism is on that island, that Christianity is on that island, that atheism is on that island, that system science is on that island, that the whole education system on that island, that all the corporations and all the governments, all the rule of law, everything is on that island, and all the libraries and all the histories on that island. They're all the tools that keep you trapped, keep you bound in the prison between your ears on that island, where the sirens are controlling our attention span, where we're always focused on what they're offering and responding and acting out whatever that information that the sirens are giving us. I mean, to Ulysses on the mast, the sirens are saying, please change direction, bring your vessel towards us, come and be with us. That's no different to, I've got to get them to go to work.
Would you say that the truth is still in plain sight on that island?
Always. It's always been in plain sight, regardless how deep asleep one is, how distracted and confused one is. The thing is, we can't take any of what's on that island and rely on that being part of the tools of paradise ways of life, because it won't be. It'll undermine it, and basically we will always be on the island. We can be on that island and recreating a paradise on that island, but it's a paradise amongst the sirens. It's not a real. So the illusion, the fantasy, the delusion the apathy, the arrogance, and the ridicule and abuse, all these things, it's all going on there. People, the fear of failure, the fear of being seen, the fear of loss, the fear of, there's so many things, the uncertainty, the distrust, all this is playing out in the island. It's all in our heads. That's what we're thinking, which are the tools we're feeling that's feeding the chaos, because it's playing out with everybody else who's caught up in it. Ulysses could steer that vessel with everyone on that ship, on that boat, and all can crash on that island. So not only will he go, he'll take everyone else with him. So the reverse goes. When you want to leave that island, you don't want anyone of your family or your children or anyone want to hold you back and keep you there either. If you're going to break away, you've got to break away, but you've got to do it with the good heart. You've got to work with the virtues of that good heart. The kindness, the happiness, the joy, which comes out of it, the respect, the disciplines, the confrontations, look, there are so many virtues, empathy, compassion.
And would you say that all those great virtues also bring you to instinctively know what to do within that dream?
Naturally.
You don't need to be coached by another, or you know extensively what you need to do in real time all the time.
Well,
you know where I want to go.
If you think about Ulysses, imagine Ulysses' consciousness is like a bucket, and he let all the sirens come into his bucket and fill it all up. But he says, no, tip it all out. And the only thing coming to his bucket is coming from the good heart and all its virtues, filling that bucket. And as he breathes in, breathes out, breathes in, breathes out. And he's working with, this is just an analogy I'm using, right? But we are the man. We are all the Ulysses. And the way out, the only way out, you've got to see the fiction, the distorted feelings, the ego, etc. You've got to see it for what it is in plain sight. You've got to be able to look at it with open eyes and go, thank you for your offering, but no thank you. No battle, no conflict, no reactions, just peacefully. Thank you. But move on. Get back to planting seeds in the garden. Get back to creating forests. Get back to creating anything that has life in it, real life. Because the more life we're immersed in, the more the superintelligence is communing with us. And the more that we're emptied of that darkness, the more room we have for the superconsciousness, superintelligence to come in and inspire us. So we never stop creating. We're always going to be breathing and breathing out. We're always going to be drinking, always going to be eating one way or another. We're all going to be absorbing atmospheres and things. We just have to have the discipline and the willingness to say no to every destructive emotion. Anger belongs in that island. Violence, taking it out and getting into battles and arguments with others, belongs in that island. Playing out victim mentalities, playing out righteousness issues, playing out ridicule, abuse, and etc. Letting others come in and mess with you and try and mess within a group. The sirens will come in acting as intelligence operatives, trying to penetrate inside, acting as if they're one of the rowboaters or sailors on the boat, while some on the outside. And so outside and inside, they're trying to work it, trying to destroy the whole thing. You've got to have your eyes open and to be able to see it coming from a mile away so you can counter it. I can do that now. I already know how that works. I'm not brilliant, but I'm very smart at it now. I can sense intentions coming from a mile away, and I can anticipate it and counter it. And I do it through whatever I feel, whatever, when I talk about I mean, forget all that language for now. Just the intentions is what matters here.
You're talking about inspiration. Okay, inspiration to me is taking a breath. Okay, you're inspiring air. So we are constantly, all our life, looking for inspiration.
We already got it.
But we already got it. You don't look for expiration. You don't want to expire. But
if you want freedom, just leave the space as you're breathing in, and the information of that inspiration through life will come and fill you.
Yeah.
And you'll accordingly be in the dream. If that big picture is freedom, that's what's going to be. You don't have to, we don't have to worry about the breath that contains all the sensory information coming into our vessel through everything of life that's communing with us to meet what we're putting out there, the dream of freedom or joy or happiness or community and all that. It's already there. And the more we work with the inspiration, the more it's present to us. And before and as you go along like that, you don't worry about, oh, I'm alone, I'm the only one, nobody loves me, oh, it's too hard, it's too big, it's too much. If you've got a clear, big picture that's fashioned from the good heart and its virtues, you give it the freedom. Like your body needs to have the freedom to breathe, because you can't breathe if you blocked up and not let go, including belief systems and all that stuff. It won't happen. And whatever opportunity is coming from that inspiration of life won't be noticed. It'll just pass by and you won't even see it. In a man or a woman, or children, or in animals, or as opportunities for some kind of work that's going to bring more money in or whatever, because we're going to have to use the system to get out of this. So how do we transition from that island without bringing that with us in the transition back to paradise? Now, the interesting thing of this analogy is that the island is already here on Earth, where we are. We are all part of life itself. We're all man on the land, standing on the land, all the while we're creating chaos or creating paradise. So it's just a discipline, and with it, a natural confidence, a natural inspiration, where we live in flux between breath in, breath out. We never die. Everything of life's there for us, while we're in flux between eating and pooing, between drinking and weeing, between breathing in, breathing out, between information coming in and information going out. We actually have it all. And we can be aspire for the super intelligence to come with huge influence and upliftment in the here and now, regardless of whatever state we're in that was caused by the life on that island, amongst all the harm, chemicals and poisons,
But
harm doing, the violence.
life is full of uncertainty. It's we all know that. But
on the rocks, on the Sirens Island.
Yeah, that's it.
But not in life.
Exact. But of course, you're gonna live a life of uncertainty if you are not capable to create that magic for your life. I think we have the potential to bring anything into our life if we focus enough on the good side of ourselves, then being stuck on that island with all the dead muggles and stuff and the dead stuff. If we orientate ourselves towards the living, I think we can easily co-create something that we want, not something that we don't want.
I pulled out of the system in 2005. I went from a 4,000 a week income for years to nothing, with 3 kids and Fiona pregnant with the 4th one coming. I completely unplugged off the back of Macquarie Bank fiascos and then tried to steal everything that we worked for, which would today be like $6 million. When you add up, I'm not going to go, I'll explain that now, but I just instinctively knew I'm just going to do this. I'm going to unplug, drop the name, don't use the name anymore because that belongs on the island. It's all the contracts that are formed on that island. I'm going to drop the name. So there is no relationship commercially with the island anymore, and all the sirens and all the representatives and administrators and all that. Just dropped it on 2005. I didn't write to anybody. I didn't have to explain my stance to anybody in authority. I just did it. It was just a private thing I did. And while, I've talked about it here and there and written about it and we've discussed it with many people on the way. Now, if I was driven by uncertainty, I wouldn't have done it because I'd be worried about my children having food. Excuse me, I'm getting a message from my daughter. Okay. See you later. If I had any
priority.
If I had any uncertainty, any distrust, any fear, the bonds I would have, the unnatural bonds I would still have with the island of sirens, will be such that it would manipulate me into worrying about food on the table for my kids, roof over my head for my family.
That's exactly where I wanted to go. Yeah.
Right. I just didn't let any of that affect me, knowing what I was doing. I had a wife who has no business background. She used to teach English as a second language to migrants in Spain and elsewhere, and here in Australia. But that was, she had a degree in drama and theatre and all that, but no background in business, no business in that way. And here I am in 2005, in the middle of this insanity with, I decided, right, I'm going to drop it all. And I'm going to now work out how this all really works. Who are these people? What is going on here? I want to really know it. So I became Ulysses on the mast, but I was willing to go and stay on the island. I didn't leave the island. I stayed on. So I was in their world, but I was not of their world, because I trusted and worked with the inspirations. I worked with the good heart. Now, interesting. Week. Now, Fiona, all we had left was Fiona getting Centrelink parenting payments, government handouts. Try and end this quickly for you, man. That was it. And until we started up the Love Live website and all that, we started to get some gifts. Now, every day went past. We did spend many weeks or months with our pantry cupboard empty. But we just managed to have enough to eat. Kids very young. The eldest was like 6, the youngest in the womb. And Fiona, in whatever state she was in, she just allowed me to do this. And here I am, 20 years later, still alive. My family's all alive. My wife's all alive. Everything's alive. We have a roof over our heads. We've got pantry cupboards full. I'm not in the system. I don't make money. Nothing. I got no contracts. I got no driver's license, no car registration. I don't have tax file numbers. I don't have Medicare. I don't have government handouts. Nothing. I don't do dark money. I don't go and do cash deals. I don't do black market. Nothing. I decided I'm not going to do anything that belongs on that island. I'm going to be on that island and stand apart from it. So I began the journey of not realizing that I was Ulysses on the mast, or going to get on that mast, have built a ship with others to sail off it. So I've always still been in that world where everything's still coming at me and all the shit has been thrown at me and my family, my wife, right? But it's not taken away anything from the commitment and the focus of the dream of paradise of kingdom. Now, if I can do it, and to even now be on 26, 27 acres through the gifts to create a community, and with others who want a gift to create the community, we can pull resources, we can do extraordinary things if we can overcome what's in it for me, the fear of tomorrow, the fear that people are going to turn against you, you're going to be used and abused, people that you're going to trust are actually not be trustworthy. You know what I mean? You've got to know what you're working with. You have to know who it is and that you're being interested in being involved with. You've got to do your due diligence that way. You've got to work it out. Don't ever trust or believe anything I'm saying. You come and, if you want to know me, come and smell me, come and hear me, come and get involved, come and find out all my quirks, all my character traits. None of us are perfect. We're all damaged. Nobody coming out of the system is not damaged. We are all damaged. But yet, we can hold a dream of that beauty. I've never let it go. All my energy still goes to that dream. In spite of anyone else who gets caught up and the paranoia takes over and they want to come after me. They don't want to stay focused on the dream and let them live for that dream. They come after me and blame all the siren voices in their head that manipulate them, that are going to turn them into dead bones and all that on the island of rack and ruin, because they're still attached to the fear. They're still to the fantasy, the justifications, the righteousness. It's staggering how this destructive emotional stuff works. But that is what I did. And I'm still doing it 20 years later, and I have no money. I own nothing. Fiona owns everything. She owns it all when it comes to the fiction. She carries all the contract, carries everything. I carry nothing. So we work one in, one out. But together, we found our way in dealing with this issue to break it and break away. So I make sure, as long as I stay pure that way, in spite of whatever effed upness happens with me and all the stuff that I'm still working through, as long as I hold that dream and I'm committed to it, and I don't bring any fog into it through confusion or doubt or uncertainty or complacency or arrogance or ignorance and all that kind of stuff, fantasy, illusion, delusion, it just goes on. There's so many of them. As long as that fog does not appear, the dream remains pure. And all my energy, no matter who comes and goes out of this life, it all keeps going into that dream, because that's what I'm breathing for. It still goes into that dream. It's not going to the island life and the sirens. Even while I'm talking to you, it's doing it on this internet, even with the headphones, all the fictional things, the chainsaws, the whippersnippers. I make sure all the energy that I work with, all of this stuff, it all goes to the paradise stream of life. It does not go to the island siren. So I've been able to do that because I've removed my association, my old ancient association with the trauma, the emotions, the fiction, and accepting the power and authority of these dreams that are not mine.
So it comes down to letting go of all these emotions on that island and really focus our emotional state on galactic feelings, like
exactly
feelings,
at the same time, all at the same time,
divine feelings, all at the same time,
all the time. And that those divine feelings is nature, plants,
nature. That's it.
Birds. There's nothing divine. You can't go and visit the divine, but you can. I get the
I can visit the birds.
Yeah, exactly, and the inspiration. So all our energy is going into nurturing life.
Exactly.
And that's where eternal life is. And if we live and we pass our bodies rest in that eternal life, it is eternal life. But if we stay on that island, you die there forevermore. There is nothing to move on.
You're just nurturing death and destruction.
Gone, all over, mate. You die on that island with those dreams, that's all you know, you're gone forever.
And even when you sit in front of the TV and get fed all that nonsense, it's destruction and death to your dream, to the dream of life. We don't realize that. But all the time we waste in distraction is time wasted for the collectivity also, to inflate that dream of life.
People want to go and buy their own piece of land and live on that piece of land, and they want to do the right thing and be sustainable in that. But a huge part of their brain is still in allegiance to the life on the island. And all their energy goes to the island, to the system, to feed it. And then they start complaining and wondering why shit's happening, why it's being attracted into their life. But they haven't stopped to realize that they're still emotionally attached to my land. This is my freedom. This is my space. This is mine. So while one lives like that, they need the island to exist with all the offerings of the island for that to happen. Because in a paradise situation, it wouldn't happen because there's nothing there to uphold it or support it or accept it. It won't happen. You see, because through the good heart, it's already happening without having to define it and get caught up in all the dark energy of it. So, as we've already touched on other parts of the video, people who make claims are making claims about what they don't have. When people really have got it worked out, there is nothing to say. There is nothing to talk about because they're already living it and being it. They're doing it. And that's a silence. It's a true peace and calm. And when you have another brother doing that and another brother, another sister doing that, the co-creation of that is powerful. Because no one wants to cross the line to do harm to another or covet the best piece of land at the cost of no one else having access to it. Basically, we all take the worst bits and transform it back to paradise, and all the best bits of everything is for everyone to enjoy, for everyone to have, because the conscience, the good heart, does that, not the ego. Mine, I want that view. It's my view. It's my allocation of the best of this. That's all part of the ego, mate. It's all part of the dark side. That's why I said to you in another video, I've had people who've come to me offering me 3,000 acres and offering me a lot of money. And I said no, because I could see all this island stuff that's so strong in them still. And they're not ready to handle that kind of responsibility. I've done it with some people at the smaller under chaos when they start to have that island sirens in their head playing out the paranoia and the psychosis. Man, I've had people completely lose it. I've had people wanting to punch me up. I've had to say to these people, well, you have the freedom. You're stronger than me. You can bash me up. But just remember this. If you touch me, you better kill me. You better kill me, because if you don't, I'll find you and I'll kill you. Because I fucking will. I won't muck around. Because that's coming from my heart. That's not retribution. That's to make sure that that kind of harm, that parasitic stuff, doesn't come into the domain to threaten anybody. I'm responsible to not let it come in. Now, sure, I'd love to do it peacefully and be able to resolve it, and that'll happen in the moment. But generally, when it comes to that, I'm not a doormat, and neither is my wife. I've had my wife kidnapped by highway patrolmen to intimidate us. I think I mentioned this in another video. We've had everything you could possibly imagine in all the Hollywood movies, from spy and surveillance and threats and forms of sabotage and whatever else going on. The scale of it has just been enormous. I've documented everything I could remember all through it all. But it doesn't put me into fear, or puts me into security protection. I still leave the door open for people who want to come, who want to do the kingdom dream, and to see if they want to dabble their toes into it and see, can they cope? Can they be Ulysses tied to the mast? Can they do it? And that's what I do to everybody who turns up. I straight away, I test them out. They don't even know I'm doing it most of the time. Some who hear this, who might want to come and visit, will know that I'm doing it to them. But they have to be Ulysses on the mast.
Yeah, but the forces will test you also on this journey of life. You will be tested to know if you're strong enough to handle that.
Well, but it is because all the strings of attachment to the island is what's being looked at. So if you want to let them all go, something needs to happen for you to look at it and be willing to let it all go. But if you're letting it all go, what are you letting it go to? For what? You've got to have something greater than all of that, that's even more beautiful, more fun, for wanting to let go of it all. And that's the sacrifice. That's the immense sacrifice that I did in 2005. It wasn't for my family, even though my family suffered for those, because it was the system that created the deprivation with food. That created all the everything compromised, that you have to go and work and be able to pay taxes and be able to pay rental monies and all that, because you're tied to a perpetual machine of slavery. I'm not at fault for any of that. All the consequences that came out of all of that in my doings and all those challenges is not my fault. If I had been brought up in paradise and did what I did, it wouldn't be an issue. But because people have power, they want power and control over me. And they don't want me to influence others out there to regain their real power and have a real freedom of life. They have to intervene to try and undermine and stop it. So that's why they get into affecting the videos. They have slander campaigns. They run around saying Arthur's like this and Arthur's like that. And in the communities where we are, they try to post little comments to see if they can bite and get a reaction from us. This is where all the old days of all the death threats are all stopped now. I don't worry. We're just, my wife and I just don't care.
Anyway, after I have to go, like I said, at 9:30, 9:40, we'd have to stop this one there. We started a bit later today, but we can come back, let's say, Thursday night. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine. So that'll be our Friday. Can I ask you, did we come up with answers to your question? Did I actually cover it for you?
Yeah.
All right, good. Okay.
Yeah, no. You always cover with an extensive answer, but I get bits and pieces in there and what you're explaining, and I make sense of the big picture you're giving us. Definitely, I took some notes. Maybe we can come back on it Thursday, but definitely, no, I get. I even mean with my music adventure, I have experienced some stuff with some artists that I thought were really genuine and for the world and making music out of love and stuff, but I realized it wasn't really the case. So sometimes I have to let go of some of those toxic energy, if I can say, and
Mm.
it will definitely show up within your dream, within your goals and stuff, because people are so damaged and fucked up and holding that nightmare of life so on a pedestal instead of holding the dream of life. So no, definitely there's something going on within this world, definitely, that keeps people trapped in perpetual darkness. But I think if you're willing to put yourself on the mask, like you say, and accept that you might be hit with a few stones and stuff and lapidated and shit,
Yeah.
but you will become stronger after. Definitely, it won't kill you to put yourself on the mast and face the reality of
It's
your
very,
being.
very important, Yanni, to be able to
Yeah.
overcome the fear of loss and the fear of death.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
If you can overcome those two things, you're a long way down the road of being tied to the mast and stay focused no matter what is thrown at you. Because the sirens will throw at you everything. You know, they'll come at you through the political system. They'll come at you through government agencies and departments. It'll come at you through, intelligence obviously trying to come into your private life and mess with it. Look, it just comes at you in many ways.
And we
You just
can,
got to ignore it all
yeah,
and
exactly.
love it and
And
just give love back. And that's where the great man, turn your cheek. Do unto others as you wish them do unto you. Those moral correctness are what makes a Ulysses on the mast. I mean, the great man did the 40 days at the desert, right? To face the devil. It's the same thing. It's the same story I just described with Ulysses on the mast. You have to be able to face this thing and look at it for what it is,
you
to
know,
be willing to want to break away from it.
is it a universe, a multiverse? I think it's a mirror verse that we live in. You know, we live in a mirror verse. So
Yeah,
look at yourself in the mirror, and
narcissism.
yeah, and you will see what probably is playing out in the world. But if you have to look with honesty, also honesty, humility, all these humbleness, these have to hit you. It's not necessarily emotions that we carry on our everyday life and our journey into the
It's true.
nightmare of Babylon, but
Can I
we have
intervene?
to what?
I was just saying, can I intervene about what you just said?
Yeah, of course.
Because this is all Babylon being that rock, that
I
island
speak
of
all the time.
silence.
Me, I can
See, the
stop.
thing, the thing, the thing is, I think I haven't lost my train of thought here. The No, I've lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Anyway,
I want, darn, forget it.
no big
It's
deal.
another time.
We'll have a chance to come back together anyway and extrapolate our thoughts again. But
All right.
Arthur, great pleasure to have you on again tonight
Thank
for
you.
this great talk. And even though we don't we always dive deep, definitely, because that's the essence of it, is to dive deep. But definitely there's some nights that we're gonna do surface stuff also, because I think what's happening is a lot on the surface. It's not necessarily so deep within ourselves. So it's on the surface. If we can break the stuff that's on the surface, on the veil, there's like a little veil in the water, then you won't drown in the water after, but we're drowning in so much nonsense and bad emotions. And so, yeah, definitely that's the reason why people try to come online and enlighten others on certain topics. And that's why I'll keep doing that TruMon show, because it is necessary. Look at the world we live in. So the lies and deception are rampant. What, I'm supposed to just sit on the sideline and not say nothing? It won't happen. So I'll be back here Thursday night with Arthur, definitely. Boom. Was an honor again, everyone. And rise and shine. That's my message all the time, and I'll stick to it. All right. See ya.